Welcome back for another scenario in the Pathfinder Adventure card game. From the last adventure, I've chosen to keep a hero point for Cass, just in case. And for Kira, I've given her another spell for her starting deck. For this scenario, we are going after the Kingkiller. So a woman has been named as the killer of the king, and we are to bring her in for trial. So for the dangers, it's just when we encounter danger, we'll randomly choose a barrier. There's no villain or henchman. For setup, when building the locations, build a number of rooftop locations equal to the number of characters. So for the rooftops, I've built 2 separate decks. And then for the story bane, shuffle a closing henchman fugitive into the tenement. So fugitive is hiding out over here. All characters will start at the tenement. When the fugitive is defeated, the location it came from closes automatically, and then shuffle the fugitive into another location. Then all characters move to that location. So basically, our plan is to defeat the fugitive here, to make her go to here, to make her go to here, to win the game. And winning this scenario, get us another hero point, and rally the supporter Trinia Sabor. So for our starting hands, we'll draw 5 cards, looking for an ally. Finding 1 ally, some half plate and a shield, and a couple of items. Then we'll take our avalanche blessing. And for Kira, getting 5 cards, looking for blessing, finding 1, and then we'll take the dance. And we'll start our adventure. Cass, for the first hour, if you're at a wild location, you may discard a card to explore. We are at an urban location. We will go ahead and take a look. Well, before we do that, this location, on our check to acquire an ally, you may bury a boon to add a D8. To close our guard, it's not going to matter, because if we beat up the fugitive, it's going to close automatically. And when closed, you may draw a random boon from your bury pile if you do bury a boon. And for the 2 rooftops, when you would encounter a barrier, draw a new one, encounter 1, and banish the other, and no effect when closed. So our first card, an acid flask, needing an intelligence craft of 4. So our intelligence is a D6. And we have a 6. So the rolls are starting out good. So we picked us up a flask for your combat check. Managed to use dexterity craft or ranged on a local combat check or a local check to defeat a lock or trap. Barrier. Managed to add a D4 and the acid trait. Then I'll go ahead and display our half plate. And since we have too many cards in hand, we're going to discard our ally to explore. In this exploration, when you suffer damage, reduce it by 2. So 1 more look. Find some magic chainmail, which needs a constitution fortitude of 7. And our fortitude is a D8 plus 1. Getting a 3. So the chainmail is no good for us, so we'll get rid of that and go ahead and end our turn and pass to Kira. So for her blessing, your check against an undead card, add a D6. And she'll take a look. Finding a giant fly. So combat at 10, if undefeated, bury a random card from her discards. And after acting, shuffle this monster into a random other location. We will attempt to immolate this. So for a combat check, we'll use our divine plus 2d4. So our divine, it's a d10 plus 3. And 2d4. We'll set this over here for recovery. And I feel pretty good with a 10, so we'll just roll with that. Getting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So exactly what we needed. So after acting, shuffle this monster into a random other location. So we'll say 1 to 3 and 4 to 6. So we will shuffle that into this location. Then we will end our turn using our cleric ability to recharge a divine card to heal a local character. So we'll choose to heal Cass, only 1 card in her discard pile, so we'll shuffle that into her deck. And then for recovery, for this spell we need a 7 with our divine check. So that's a D10 plus 3. Getting an 8. So this card will be recharged. And we're at 4 cards, so we would draw 1. Finding a blessing. Then on to Kessa's turn for the hour, no effect. Taking a peek, finding her fugitive. So it's a barrier. So dexterity, charisma, acrobatics, or diplomacy of 6. And before acting, succeed at a wisdom or perception 4 check, or the difficulty to defeat is increased by 1d6. So our wisdom perception is a d4. So there's a chance. Did not make it. So difficulty is increased by d6. So we need an 11. And we need dexterity or acrobatics, which is a d6 plus 1. Diplomacy, it's a d8 plus 1. So that's our best chance. D8 plus 1. The hour is currently a 0. So Kira will bless this and recharge this card, giving us another D8. So needing an 11. Getting a 7. So the fugitive will hide back in here. And we will pass turn to Kira. For the hour, on your check against a spell, add a d4. Finding a Montebank. Wisdom, diplomacy of stealth of 6. Wisdom is a d10. Diplomacy, d8 plus 1. And we don't know what stealth is. So if undefeated, bury the top card of your deck. We'll go with the D10. And we will go ahead and bless this. Needing a 6. Getting an 11. So we've defeated this barrier. And we will end our turn drawing 2 cards. Finding some armor. And a hammer. So on the Kess. No effect for the hour. Some haughty nobles. Charisma, diplomacy will need a 7. If you're at an urban location, the difficulty to defeat is increased by 4. So we're going to need an 11. Undefeated, bury either an ally or a random boon. And if defeated, you may summon and encounter a new boon of any type. So our charisma is a d8 plus 1. And Kira will do a little dance to bless another character's check twice. Needing an 11. Getting a 14 or 15. So we may summon and encounter a new boon of any type. We'll choose allies and pick a random card. Finding a leech. wisdom, knowledge, or survival of 6. So we've got a D4, so no chance. Got a 2. Let the leech get away. And in my turn, I'm going to discard our flask just so I can draw another card. Finding an ally, and pass turn to Kira. So for the hour, on your check, you may discard a card to reroll 1 die showing a 1 or 2. Go ahead and display some magic hide armor. And take a look. Finding an archer, which makes sense. So charisma, diplomacy, ranged of 4. So D8 plus 1. Getting a 5, so we found ourselves an archer. And then we're going to go ahead and send her out, discard to explore. This exploration on your dexterity or range checks, add a D4. And we find a student. So charisma, diplomacy of 6, since we're not going to do too well in the intelligence arcane. So another D8 plus 1. Getting an 8. So we found another ally. And we'll go ahead and discard to explore. And then this exploration, on our first arcane check, we can add a D4. Finding our fugitive. So Kira is probably the one we want doing this part. So succeeded a wisdom or perception 4 check. Our perception is a wisdom plus 2. So D10. So we're good there. Barely made it. So now a diplomacy of 6. So that's a D8 plus 1. Cass will assist with her dandy ally on a local charisma or diplomacy non-combat check. Recharge to add a D6. Against aristocrat, we can reveal instead. So recharging for a D6. Needing a 6. Getting a 6. So we have bested the fugitive. So our location will close automatically. We can draw a random boon from our berry pile, which has no effect for us. We will shuffle the fugitive over into the rooftops. And we will both move over. We will end our turn using our divine healing ability to recharge a card and then heal a random card and shuffle that into our deck. And then draw 3 cards. Getting a blessing and 2 spells. So for Kessa's turn, no effect for the hour. Finding a mouse on the rooftops makes total sense, at least. So wisdom, stealth, or survival of 4. I'll be rolling a D4. So we are not quick enough to catch the mouse, and he scampers away. We will end our turn drawing 1 card, finding a blessing. Then back to Kira. No effect for the hour. Looking on the rooftops, finding an accursed priest, yelling from atop the buildings. So immune to mental, poison. No more than 1 divine card may be played against this monster. And after acting, a local character buries a blessing. So we need combat of 13 or divine of 10. So for the priest, we'll go with the combat, break out our warhammer. So we can use our melee plus a D8. So our melee is a D8 plus 3. And the warhammer gives us another D8. Then the hour is at 0. So we'll use this blessing. So this is our 1 divine card to bless that. Giving us another D8, and we're looking for a 13. Getting an 11, 14. So So after acting, your local character buries a blessing. And that is going to have to be Cass. So she will bury this card. We will end Kira's turn using her healing ability on herself. Taking a random card. Shuffling that in. And then drawing 2. Getting an aid spell. And a blessing. On to Cass, flying around the rooftops. On her check to close her guard, add a d4. Seeing what she can see, she finds an Earthbreaker. That'd be nice to get. Strength melee of 8. Her melee is a d10 plus 4. Getting an 8. So she will grab this weapon and end up giving that to Kira on her next turn. She will stop there. So Kira's turn, no effect for the hour. So Wisdom, Divine, Perception of 5 to get a blessing. So D10 plus 3. 13. We have a blessing. And we're going to go ahead and use our horse. Discard to explore. This exploration on your first check will add a d4. So assuming we're going to have a check, we'll put that there. Drowning in mud on the rooftop. So strength survival of 6 or constitution fortitude of 8. If undefeated, bury the top card of your deck, then suffer the scourges entangled and exhausted. So her strength is a d8 plus 1. And actually, on the rooftops, we would encounter a barrier. We draw a new one and encounter one and banish the other. So we'll see what our options are. Could have a lost logo on the rooftops. I think being stuck in mud on the rooftop sounds a lot more fun. So we'll continue with this. Needing a 6. Getting a 7, 8. So we're not drowning in mud on the rooftops. We will end our turn using our Divine Healing. And shuffling that into our deck. Move a little closer there. And then drawing 1 card. Getting a blessing. So on to Cass. For the hour. When you would discard a boon to bless a strength or constitution check, you may recharge it instead. And then we find some imps and house drakes, needing combat of 10, an arcane survival of 6. On your check to defeat, each local character may recharge any number of allies or reveal any number of devil or dragon allies. For each of these, add a d4. Undefeated, suffer the scourge, poisoned. We have no allies, so we will stick to combat. So for her first combat, it's her melee plus a d12. So d10 plus 4. And the d12. We'll go ahead and sound her horn from the rooftops on a local combat check. Recharge to add a d4. And we're looking for a 10. Barely making it with 2, 4, 6, and 10. So we've defeated the imps in the House of Drake. We will end our turn drawing a card and hopefully remember to pass our weapon over next turn. Finding our bodyguard. For Kira's turn. On each check, the first blessing played to bless may be played freely. And we're running low on cards here. Whoops. Finding a harrower. So charisma, diplomacy of 4, knowledge, perception of 5. Charisma is a d8 plus 1. getting a 1, so a total of 2. And this guy just decides to keep on walking on the rooftop. Then we'll end our turn, do some healing on us. And shuffling that into our deck. Pass the turn to Cass. For the hour, no effect. So we'll then take the Earthbreaker and give it to Kira. And then explore. Finding a Plague Mask, Intelligence and Craft. So it's a D6 for us. Needing a 4, getting a 3. We'll toss it off the roof and end our turn drawing a card. Finding our soldier friend. And for Kira's turn for the hour, no effect. She'll take a look. Finding a wounded wanderer. Wisdom, Craft, Divine, Survival of 8. So our Divine is D10 plus 3. So I think that's what we're going to try. So we may parry a healing boon to defeat this barrier, which we don't have. And if defeated, summon and encounter an ally that lists diplomacy in its check to acquire. So I need an 8. The hour is a 0, so perfect time to bless with this. So recharge. Getting another D10. 12, 15. So defeated the barrier, so we can go looking through our ally cards in our vault, looking for one that has diplomacy. And there's quite a few. So we'll shuffle those up and take a random one. Finding a lookout. So diplomacy of 5, or perception, or charisma. Our perception is a wisdom plus 2, or D10 plus 2. Needing a 5. Getting a 9, so we found ourselves a lookout, and we'll swiftly put her to work. Discard to explore. This exploration, you may invade your encounters. But we're not going to be evading because there's only one card left. We found our fugitive. So wisdom or perception of 4. Once again, perception is a D10 plus 2. Getting an 8. So diplomacy, D8 plus 1. This is considered a barrier. So we will use our blessing. I'm going to check against a barrier, recharge to bless. Getting another D8. Needing a 6. Getting 8. So she will flee over to this rooftop. No effect when closed. And yes, I know at this location, when you encounter a barrier, you can draw a new one, encounter one, and banish the other. It's fairly obvious for me that when we find the fugitive, we're going to keep it and encounter it. But the tangle of debris is the one we would have pitched. So we will end our turn. We'll just draw 2 cards. Getting a Staff of Minor Healing and a Blessing. Passing turn to Cass. So when you heal, you may heal an additional card. Take a look on the rooftops, finding a glorious warhammer. Strength melee of 10. So a D10 plus 4. I'd really like to get this, so we're going to have our soldier help pick it up. On a local strength or melee check, recharge to add a D4. And see what we can get here. Getting 2, 6, and 10. So now we have a glorious warhammer that we can pass off to our cleric. So we will end our turn. Kira, blessing for the hour, no effect. Taking a look, finding the giant fly. We'll need a 10 or higher. She'll bring out her earth / giant fly breaker. So a melee plus a D12. Our melee is going to be a D8 plus 3. Plus the D12. And since the hour is 0, we will recharge to bless. Needing a 10. Getting a 16, 19. So after acting, shuffle this monster into a random other location. There are no other locations, so we'll just discard it. We'll use our Staff of Minor Healing. Recharge to heal a local character. So we will recharge and then pick ourselves. And then draw 2 more cards. Finding our horse and our hero deck. So for Cass, no effect for the hour. Oh, we're going to pass our Warhammer over to our friendly neighborhood Kira, and then look on the rooftops, finding a Wisdom Divine blessing, needing a 5. Best we can do is a 4. We got a 2, so long, blessing. End our turn, drawing a card, finding a guide. Then on to Kira, for the hour, no effect. Taking a look on the rooftops, finding the Evil Eye. So Arcane Divine of 7 or Knowledge Stealth of 9. So when examined, so we didn't examine, cannot be evaded, and if undefeated, suffer the Scourge Days, and then banish this barrier. So Arcane Divine, so D10 plus 3. Nothing to help. So getting an 11. So we've defeated the Evil Eye. We'll get rid of this barrier. We'll use our hero deck to reload and examine the top 3 cards. And we'll go ahead and put them back in this order. We'll go ahead and discard a card because I don't see any reason to carry 3 hammers with us. So we'll draw our blessing. Passing turn to Kess. For the hour, if you're at a wild location, which we aren't, we may discard a card to explore. So we found a craftsman, charisma diplomacy of 6 or craft of 4. Our diplomacy is a D8 plus 1. So we'll see if we can get a friendly ally. Getting a 5. You know what? I just want to add a dwarf to the group. So I'm going to use my luck stone. On your check, after the roll, recharge to add 1. So we'll do that. We've acquired an ally. Now we're going to put the dwarf to work. Discard to explore. This exploration on your craft and disable checks, add a D4. Finding a gang enforcer. So we're not examining. When you encounter this card, if you do not acquire it, bury a boon. A local check to acquire recharge, add a D4. So we need charisma, diplomacy, or stealth of 7, or we can just banish a boon. So we'll try a little diplomacy, D8 plus 1. Seeing what we get. Getting a 7. So we now have a gang enforcer. So we'll go ahead and use him to discard this exploration on your combat checks, add a D4. Finding a cave bear on the rooftops, because we really do need the gang enforcer. So thanks to him, we're getting a D4 for free. So before acting, succeed at a combat 8 or survival 4 check, or suffer 1d4 combat damage. After acting, if you suffer damage from this monster that was not reduced, suffer the Scourge wounded. We need a combat 8. So it looks like I'm going to get the D4 for the whole exploration for this card. So we'll go to our melee, which is a D10 plus 4, plus a D12, needing an 8, which we easily make, 8, 9, 10, 14. Now we need the combat of 13. Hasn't been many combat, so we'll go ahead and use a blessing. So on our combat check, discard to bless twice. So 2 more D10s, plus our normal D10 plus 12 for our combat, and our D4 because of the gang enforcer. Needing a 13. Oops, dropping dice. Getting 7, 11, 18, 27, 31. We're going to say there's a dead cave bear on the rooftops. Did not suffer any damage, so he goes away. And since we defeated a monster, we may heal a card. So take a random card here. And shuffle that back into our deck. And ending our turn, drawing 2 cards. Finding a prayer and our spiked gauntlet. So passing turn to Kira for the hour. When you would discard a boon to bless a dexterity or charisma check, you may recharge it instead. Just going to take a check. Finding our fugitive. So before acting, perception 4 check. Our perception is a D10 plus 2. Needing anything but that. So we're adding a D6. So we're adding 2, so we're going to need an 8 for this check. So we are a D8 plus 1. We're going to discard this card to bless this check. Giving us another D8. Needing an 8. Getting a 5. So our fugitive hides again on a rooftop in these 4 cards, and we will try harder. So we'll go ahead and use our divine healing. Shuffle that into our deck. And passing turn to Cass. No effect for the hour. On the rooftops, we find the symbol of sleep. So intelligence, wisdom, arcane, and divine of 8. Our wisdom is a D4. Intelligence is a D6. If undefeated, each local character suffers a scourge exhausted, then recharge this barrier. All right, well, it looks like we're both going to take a nap, so we're going to find out what exhausted is going to do to us, and then recharging this barrier. It's going to go in the back. Kind of okay with that. So exhausted. On each checker step, you may play no more than 1 boon. At the start of your move step, you may end your turn to remove this scourge. So we'll go ahead and put this up here as a reminder. Both our characters are sleepy. We will end our turn. I'm going to discard this card and draw a porcupine. For Kira's turn, no effect for the hour. Start of the move step, she'll end her turn to remove the scourge. And then reset, drawing 2 cards. Getting a blessing and a sonic blast. For Kessa's turn, on your check against an outsider card, add a D4. Her move step, she'll get rid of the scourge. We're no longer exhausted. Just wasted 2 turns. We're going to discard our porcupine and draw a card. Finding our acid flask. For Kira's turn, no effect for the hour. Finding some Balmberry. Wisdom, divine, or survival. Divine is a D10 plus 3. Needing a 6. getting an 11. So what can we do here? On your turn, bury or banish to heal a local character a card and or remove a scourge from them. I'll go ahead and banish to heal ourselves. Now I'll discard a card to draw a card. Finding an aid spell. So back to Cass for the hour. On your check against a barrier, the difficulty is increased by 3. Excellent. So that must mean we're going to find our fugitive. Yes. So it's going to be a 9. Unless we fail this, then it'll be even worse. We got a wisdom check of D4. Failed it. So we're adding a D6. Excellent. So now we need a 15 to defeat the fugitive. Diplomacy is a D8 plus 1. Rolling. Failed. Fugitive runs away in these 3 cards. We'll end our turn discarding a card and draw a card. Finding a soldier. Passing turn to Kira. On your check, you may discard a card to re-roll a die showing a 1. We'll take a look and find a minion needing charisma, diplomacy, or knowledge of 7. If undefeated, will be exhausted again and then summon the danger. And if defeated, examine the top card of your location. You may ignore effects that trigger when examined. So diplomacy, it's a D8 plus 1. We'll have Kess bless this. So needing a 7, getting an 8. So if defeated, examine the top card of the location, ignoring effects that trigger. So we find our fugitive again. Nothing triggers. And it will turn back down. We know where she's hiding on the rooftop. We're going to ride our horse on the rooftop so we can explore again, adding a D4 to our first check. So exploring in our first check is going to be our perception 4, which is a D10 plus 2. Getting 2, 4, 6. So we're good for that. And now if we can just get our diplomacy 6 check. So D8 plus 1. So against a barrier, recharge to bless. So another D8. And we're going to use our aid spell on any check, freely banish, to add a D4 plus 1. So there's our D4 plus an additional 1. And we're looking for a 6. Getting 10, 11, 12. So we have finally caught the fugitive. So a reward. We each get a hero point. So 1 more for Kess and 1 for Kira. And we get a new supporter for our club. So Trinia, while displayed on any non-combat check, you may bury to add a D4 plus the adventure number. And if we get her leveled up, may bury to heal a character a card and or remove a scourge from them. So I hope you enjoyed the playthrough of the Kingkiller. So please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.